Hallo, agus fáilte go trí seascad den program ag BBC Alba ha códachuig na bhuannaich iongantach an spórs na Alba. Is me Iona Ballantyne agus ha mi toliche fáilte ras a chuir sean cluicheadair rugby na Alba Heather Lockhart. Program na h-eadar-nàiseanta, vir me hínas Heather sùil an drunnig hug Alba Colombia agus Cupa na Cruinne ruighinn agus Cuideachd sin gona gemachan achcha an bhuannaich. Cuideachd ha Ali Collins Brown mu cimra chuirí mes reist teanas a sé glúisead go tennis carriage. Heather, welcome back to 360.
Thank you very much for having me.
I am delighted to have you back on so soon after Scotland once again qualified for the Rugby World Cup, but it has been a long time.
Yes, indeed. The last time Scotland played was 2010 in a World Cup in England at Surrey Sports Park, so it's just fantastic 12 years later to gain qualification on Friday night in Dubai and again qualification for their 6th World Cup in New Zealand later this year in October the 8th it starts, so it's just fantastic. First time in the Southern Hemisphere, so all the players will just be absolutely thrilled to be going.
You must have been so delighted to see that victory on Friday and actually see Scotland finally do it for the first time in, like you say, 12 years.
Yeah, I mean, over the 12-year period, there's been 2 World Cups and 2 qualification processes that Scotland have just narrowly missed out on. First time was in 2013. 5 players out of the 30 players that played were involved on Friday night were involved. And then in 2016, there was a 2-leg qualifier against Spain, missing out on aggregate by 10 points. So very, very much nothing in it. So I think in terms of where we've come from since 2016, more players have gained experience at a higher level. There's been tours, for instance, to South Africa, so gained in maturity and match experience and playing together as well. And Rachel Malcolm always says what a tight unit they are, and they very much are, and very much playing together. And I think that was evident on Friday night, the way they played the match.
Well, we do have to mention a special player from the Scotland team, Siobhan Cadogan, who wasn't actually playing in that match. Sadly, she did die at the end of last year, but she was part of this team who helped Scotland reach this point to actually make it to the World Cup. She was part of that European qualification and a very special and very valued member of that side.
Yes, absolutely. Hugely valued member of that side. And I think the squad, considering this was the first match when they played Colombia, that the squad were going to play since her passing, that they wanted to honour and mark her passing. And they presented a shirt during the anthems, and very much Siobhan was with them on the pitch when they played that match. And quite a lot of the players had wrist tape with Shibby, which is her nickname, on it. So very much part of the squad and will continue to be so as they carry on through their World Cup journey.
What a very special and poignant way to remember Siobhan, to win that match and to make it to the World Cup. It's so tragic and so sad, but for her family, for her friends, for the team, they must be so proud that she is part of that team who've gone on to do that.
Yes, and I think Siobhan's passing has also probably just reminded a sense of perspective for the squad, and I think enabling them to recognise what's important in life, and then what's important, you must celebrate the good times as well, and celebrate with her in spirit as they go forward.
That's so true. Heather, thank you very much. Well, se levan do Alba h-eadar-nàiseanta, genial leisgol san bíorn gus Cuideachd na Cruinne a Bheir bhuannaich h-eadar-nàiseanta Colombia. Agaidh ha sin Sealainn agus Heather a cin.
Lana Skelden, cool the Doorn. Stiach go Maglochlan. Ornachel der fat na park yenul sit Maxwell tien en gafek. Stiach na vian en Sera Law. Mag go konkel. Is a stay on the line heis. Willie Fasker high stay. He had score the galappe. Arish er line Lisa Thompson. Agus skolft dat. Colombia sitlais y brisw, mae'r bris lan a sgelden ymach ys nôrs yn maglachlan i'r gwyl. Iest snasal y gylwynia. Nest at y gael cêm, sgelden y gwyl, bedan cwr y fiach yn harain. Ys a i'r cronach y gynest, a ys a nach i chiar. Sam hennas egal a bwrs yn y chlachgyg, Maxwell. Mach yn y ymel, ys a Megan Gaffney ys da airson sgwr ele.
Lovely hand.
Siam yn y gyndiag, ys chlach gad y bennes y fer y harach sy'n gaif. Sealainn Nuadh the eerste nesta.
Fantastic spot, Lisa Thompson.
Bheir na seo, Sealainn Nuadh còmhla. Lisa Thompson at a casan of the ish. Sealainn Nuadh, Diti Laheen, Ruiinn. Garaftje. Agus goed te zeer aan, misschien je weer zitten in het Laheen. Hoe ik hoor hem te Ruiinn. Jade Conkel. He's a crema hier, het is sluiter gelaar. Ramirez het jenne wat die gillen is. Sealainn Nuadh, doe de show Laheen. Doe de show.
Her selflessness is repaid. Well done, Sealainn Nuadh.
If your eight starts to unbind like that, I needed to pick up and play.
Lachgille. Lang Skelton. I think I've seen that little move somewhere before.
Yeah, I like that up the 5 metre line. Good.
Machenist, gan y fian. Fyr fel corym yn yr ydahwf. Belail y dylsdiach ag ar y tri. Nuadh i siarad i pas.
Good decision.
Mae isech gyda ti yn y sydd chwnig i mache oedd y sùil. Gyda Colombia ar chyn sŵas. Timi Cholora. Jenny Maxwell of the East. Pass Baker Steak of Gaffney. Gaffney, Hunalaini, Megan Gaffney, Laheen.
Tremendous.
Megan Gaffney, le sy goig of trai. De galapa. Loads of options here.
For anyone watching, just look at all the body position at the back there. Fantastic, all in sync.
And they could go either way.
Yeah.
They might as well drive it over, I think, is the view. Jade Conkel, oh, what did she do? Did she drop on it? Yeah. Yeah, she just put her hand. She will not get an easier score.
She's got it.
Still up a call like tight.
Tremendous.
Charlie get a line, you 5 meters. Amach Lana Skelden if he have ball like Jade Conkel, Penacity and Conkel.
Nice.
Lana Skelden.
Yes, Lana. Superbly taking line out there.
Well, she deserves a try.
Yeah, yeah. She's on song today.
Just to mention, well, that Colombia is na hachligen. Betancourt, bij een bal terug hachlish.
Betancourt feeling the full effects of a Jade Conkel tackle. Well done, Emma.
Bheir na show.
Lovely pop.
Die nog een feutje nog. Dan bal het hier in Belail. Sealainn Nuadh na het leentje karam een mooie show. Chloe Rollet. Sa sgôr eile tíon, agus ar a giad chorm, Evie Willis.
Oh, fantastic. Well done, Evie.
Evie Wills.
Yeah, first try. Congratulations on her third cap. Well done, Evie Wills.
On the line.
Seo the tíon in eist, go bheadh straight to finish and the t-seachdain-sa Colombia and hen teach go chéir. Na seo, Donald's day, the eist.
It's at the back. Molly's got it.
Molly right, Channing.
Fantastic play.
So emotional at the end there. How lovely was that to see, especially after so long, like we were just talking about before, a very emotional start to the game.
Yeah, and I think what Scotland did, what really impressed me, was they managed to keep their emotions in check and just produced absolutely fine performance built on solid foundations, and the variety of attack was absolutely outstanding. 9 tries, 8 different scorers, 9 line breaks, which is just fantastic. So a real mixture of tries scored from the set piece and from open play. So they'll just be really delighted in the manner in which they achieved this qualification.
Well, even if we talk about the score, like you just said, 9 tries, 8 different try scorers, 59-3, Scotland won. It's not a scoreline that we're used to seeing from Scotland, but so pleasing to actually see what they can do on the pitch.
Yeah, what was interesting, I think there was 28 points in the first half and 31 points in the second half. So there was a consistency of performance. I don't think there was ever a dip or a lull. I think there was 2 tries in each of the quarters, 3 in the third quarter. So very much a consistent performance. And I think Rachel Malcolm, and there's been footage in their captain's run the day before, asking for clarity, focus and precision. And I think that's exactly what they achieved in that match. As you say, emotions are riding high, but in order to achieve, they had to keep that in check, the emotions, and channel those emotions into the focus of the game and executing all their hard work. I mean, all that training, all those hours, all those early mornings, late nights, and coming together to really produce an outstanding performance.
It's a Scotland team that looks much stronger from what we've seen in previous years. They have played a lot of test matches in the past few years. Colombia haven't, but we're starting to. Do you think we're starting to see a good, solid winning team?
Yeah, I think definitely physically as well, and I think that's been building. You have to build the foundations of your physical in terms of strength and power, and also mentally as well. And I think for me, in terms of this game, it was tactically. We had the game management was really, really outstanding. Hannah Smith wasn't available due to suspension, and Sarah Bonner due to injury, so there was a couple of tweaks in the starting team that had played against Japan in the autumn, and it meant that Sarah Law started for the first time at number 10 in 2 years, and I think her partnership with Helen Nelson at 12 was a really excellent, both good kickers and both really astute rugby players, and the game management was spot on right from the start. We were 6-0 up with two penalties after just over 6 minutes to be, so just like to get that control right at the beginning to set the tone for all these wonderful tries to come. But I think those 2 kicks from Sarah at the beginning just set the tone for the rest of the match.
And great for some of the other players coming through, who a couple on the bench actually came on for the first cap. That was Katie Madison and Eva Donaldson, and also Evie Willis getting her first try on her
her debut try. I know,
Uh-huh.
just like delightful to see. And I think that, particularly Evie's try, was just a well-worked team try. In fact, one of the line breaks coming from replacement prop Lisa Coburn. So fantastic to see her working up. There was a lot of space midfield, and I think they must have identified that. There's a lot of line breaks straight through the midfield, some really clever passing, really good support play, and good hands out to Evie to finish on the wing. So she'll just be absolutely thrilled with that. Yeah, and congratulations to Katie Matheson, born in Inverness. So, and originally, I think for the first couple of years of her life, brought up in Skye, and actually has 7 caps for England. Last played for England in 2018. World Rugby regulations now allow a transfer if you have a close allegiance. Obviously, she was born in Scotland, so she's allowed to transfer after 3 years. And first cap for Scotland on Friday night. What a way to celebrate your first cap, you know, qualifying for a World Cup. And Eva Donaldson too. Congratulations.
And for Evie as well, getting that try. She's someone that you play with, you know very well, and you know what kind of player she is too.
Yeah, she brings real energy and positivity to a team, and again, a really astute rugby player, and definitely one for the years ahead. And future Scotland captain, I would definitely say her vision and just the energy she brings to the team is outstanding, and she'll only continue to develop.
What about some of the other members of the squad who've been involved in the Scotland setup for so long, who've been through some really hard times with Scotland when results really haven't gone their way? Things really seem on the up now.
Yeah, it was lovely that Jade was involved in 2013 when Scotland failed to qualify that time in Madrid, and she got a try from the base of the scrum, and that brought her up to 50 points for Scotland. So what a way to celebrate your half century for tries for Scotland. So it's just fantastic, 10 tries on the board. So well done, Jade. I know she's had a busy last 12 months qualifying as a firefighter, etc. So just, I think being able to focus on the rugby out in Dubai and coming together was, and it really showed on the pitch. Her control at the back of the scrum was really outstanding and produced some good tries.
Do you like how the squad is looking and developing under Brian Eason?
Yeah, I think there seems to be a real balance, which is good. You need, you know, everyone knowing their roles and bringing what they're good at. And I think that game highlighted that. And Colombia, definitely, again, in the semi-finals, Colombia played Kazakhstan to come through to play Scotland in the semi-finals. And they have a good set piece. And Scotland would have seen that and were out to negate that. And they did that so well. They didn't allow Colombia to play. They had a player, Maria Arzuaga, on the wing, had scored 29 points in the last 2 matches. And she only scored 3 on Friday night, so Scotland didn't let her play. So I think they'd really done their analysis well and didn't allow the Colombian threats to flourish. A
real maturity in the squad then from Scotland of the past. They are off to New Zealand, which is so wonderful. It's so great and just fantastic to watch and see how they're playing. They're in Pool A with New Zealand, Australia and Wales. Mm-hmm. We know that Scotland can beat Wales. What about in terms of New Zealand and Australia? You were in the last Scotland team to play New Zealand. Yeah,
in 2006, Scotland played against New Zealand at the World Cup in Canada, and it was 21-0 to New Zealand, and a real tough game. I'd only just started playing prop then, and when I played, that's what I expect propping to be, a real tough battle, and I don't expect anything less from them when Scotland play them in October up at Northland Event Centre. So there's a bit of a way to go before all those games happen, though. There's the Six Nations, and also Scotland qualified for the Commonwealth Games in Birmingham, but I'm sure Brian Eason and the coaches and the players will be doing their homework on the 3 pool qualification matches. The first match, Wales, is actually on a Sunday, the 9th of October, and the World Cup starts on the Saturday, but they're not due to play until the Sunday. So they beat Wales last year. Wales are ranked 11th, Scotland 9th at the moment. So everything to play for there. And Australia, a bit of an unknown quantity. They've played each other a couple of times, but way back last time was 2002, so everything to play for there, and they're ranked 5th, but again, rankings, Knockout Rugby World Cup, you know, on form, it's everything to play for. So I think what the main takeaway, I think, from Friday night is they've reached qualification, but I don't think I get they're not going to the World Cup just, oh, we've qualified and that's fine. It's like pushing on, and they're really wanting to do themselves justice and proud within that pool, and you know, get the results in the pool stages as well. And yeah, what a chance to play the 3rd match, New Zealand in New Zealand. Just fantastic, isn't it? Yeah, it's just great.
What a great place to be in, Heather. Thank you very much.
No problem.
Ag now bheas a còideachd Ali Collins mar gan a runacin ága ana tennis na Alba. Glúisi Americaig is go má ág son an gheam éiche horsta röst. Ach garich á a socrachugs na stáin. Inis a sé grééis fallh von spórs, haidrá se cluiche agus a còidrí féin chun na farpa sin móra uréile.
Gas ruinnidh tennis na Alba Ali Collins suas les bors Jimmy Chalora, ach le nátar farpa sich aiche haring shingi gan a cuairstin tennis.
I think my dad just signed me up for the local sort of lessons. I was into all sports, so I was just kind of getting stuck in with a lot of different things, and then jumped into the lessons at Sealainn University, and then it just went from there really. I was such a competitor. And I guess around maybe 11 when we went like our first trip to play like one of the biggest events in Europe, that was kind of maybe where I was like, okay, this is, we're up there, this could be fun, like this could maybe be a career for me. But I think it wasn't until maybe more when I was like 14, 15 when I went to America to train there, that's when I was more like, yeah, this is what I want to do with my life.
Iona Ballantyne va Sealainn Nuadh nach rá Ali go mesalid in spars. Hug unia machi corm smyrniachug is Bheir son ein von driach.
I think in hindsight, at the time it was very much, I don't like the sport, I've fallen out of love with it, but now in hindsight it's more I fell out in love with the environment. I didn't find a place where I felt like at home, like this was my base, this is where I could train out of and then go and compete. It was very much like I would go and try and find somewhere to train and then go and compete and then go back somewhere else to try and find somewhere to train. So it was a constant travel and I never came back to like a base almost. So that kind of, and that's when my anxieties around traveling started, I think. So it got to the point around then where it just got a bit much for me and I just really wasn't enjoying myself, really struggling being away from my mum and my dad and my brother. And I thought, no, like I'm gonna call it quits for like a period of time and let myself sort of reassess and have a think about what I want to do. It was massive for me. It's totally changed my career and the path that I went down. It gave me time to think and reassess. And in that period, I kind of spoke to my parents and the big, people in my career at that point. And that's when I decided to switch it up a little bit and go more down the doubles route, which I think has been a great change and really refreshing, and I'm really enjoying it. So I think that was, that massively helped me.
Glúis Ali gan Spain, gus leise go bharach gain, ach ba aiche di délige des a dúlana bevor, wie is falla von a carritin agus teolach aiche.
The guys over in Spain, Soto Tennis Academy are amazing. The coaches, the environment, that's probably the first place that I got that real connection with a coach. And that was just after I'd taken time away from the sport. So I really needed to find that. And they almost kind of turned, my career in that moment, which was amazing. But again, it was like I had to leave home, had to leave friends and family. And that's always just been a bit of a struggle for me. But they definitely, made it welcoming for me. And that was the norm as well. A lot of, all the girls before me from Scotland who played or wanted to play professionally had to go abroad to train. It's probably the biggest obstacle I've had to overcome in the sport is just the constant travel, constant being away from home. There's no on and off season. It's just a constant, competing all the time. So it's definitely something that I've struggled with. I've got a very close family as well. Being away from them is definitely not easy. But I think, again, it's just something as I'm getting older, I'm getting a bit more tolerance for, I'm getting a bit more used to, and realising that I don't have long in the sport probably. Realistically, we don't have that many years being able to play tennis physically. So it's just like trying to seize that and be grateful for that time that we do have.
As je wiki glúis at good tennis dùbailte an spars a the eerste kort of the alley, agus I smungen gevid an tarachushin, taich and driach.
I think there was a few reasons. I think one of them was definitely the enjoyment factor. I want to, tennis is a really lonely journey. It's long, it's hard, so you need to enjoy what you're doing, especially in the sport. So that was like a big factor. I knew I enjoyed doubles. I've always enjoyed doubles, and I've always kind of seemed to gravitate towards it. And I think my skill set's probably more within the doubles game. I'm more comfortable at the net. I'm a team player. So all those things kind of just matched up. And then a big reason as well was a big passion of mine is to inspire and encourage those young girls to play tennis and to get involved in sport in general. And to do that, I knew I needed a platform and to get out there and be visible for them. So for me, that was a big driver as well.
Ha alíon dóchas go bí nas ar éisiampla gus cloiníonn a bhrosnachach son tennis íochain, as I cúteach a géirí iad spárs baracha dhéanú gus cloiníonn a chumal sa game.
Yeah, it's massive. It's so important. And like I said, a massive passion of mine is to get more girls playing, to encourage them to pick up a racket, play sport. And I think having female role models, female coaches, that's huge. But I also think for tennis, it's keeping those girls in the sport. Once we've got them in, it's actually keeping them and not losing them to other sports, which I think is always tricky because tennis is very individual, it's very competitive. Whereas maybe, you know, more team sports are a bit more fun. So I think tennis needs to work on that and become more, I always felt it's too selective, too young. So when I was like 13, 14, there was maybe like a group of 10, but then it windows down to a group of 3 because they've been selected. But what happens to the other group of 7? They kind of think, oh, well, I've not been supported or I'm not as good as others, so I'm just going to stop playing, sort of thing. Whereas if those 10 had stayed in, it would have made my journey a lot more enjoyable as well, because I'd had my friends there, would have been able to travel together. So I think that's massive. For me, it's got to be more, you know, more players for longer periods of time, not so selective so soon.
A siúigi ein seachat it na bachcian sa driach, ha ada ali gajera at tennis is ears on iongantach guna farpas in móra.
My goal is definitely to get back to Wimbledon as a senior and compete there. Be playing at the WTA events is my dream. You know, I think we all have had that dream from a very young age, and it's still there, and I'm driving towards that. So, but I think in the time being, it's just getting a lot of matches under my belt. I've had a really difficult few years with injuries and, like I said, training environments and stuff. So I think this year is key, just to get out there, compete, play a lot of matches and gain confidence again. And yeah, hopefully at some stage be playing at those big events.
Heather, for those who might not know, as well as being a rugby superstar, you are a tennis superstar. So it's the perfect sport to be on the programme this week. So is Ali someone who's been on your radar?
Yeah, I came across her actually during lockdown just last summer. Judy was organising some events to get match play, and Ali was looking obviously to compete because obviously during lockdown couldn't go abroad, etc. And we're up at Cromlix and organising some team events, so it's fantastic to come across her then. And she's saying on the footage that her love of competing, that certainly came out there, and real enthusiasm and energy. So great to see her, and I just wish her all the best when she goes to all the tournaments now. And yeah, it's just great to see that she's back after having taken a break.
What was it like actually playing against Ali? You've got first-hand experience.
No, I totally agree. She said she's good hands, good volleys, great serve as well, really good serve, good volleying, and so she's choosing to specialise in doubles now, like Jamie Murray, also from Dunblane. So definitely there, I think, yeah, that's the right thing for her. She's away in France this week, playing with Emily Appleton, so all the very best to her, but definitely got the skill set in doubles, and she also plays the big points well, which you need obviously when you're going to be playing professionally. So there's 2 tiers in women's tennis, and there's the ITF and the WTA. At the moment she's in the second level, and she's, as she said, she's aspiring to moving up the ranks. So I think she's sitting at 435 at the moment in the rankings, so all the best to her.
It's great to hear that she's very focused now on, like you say, moving up the ranks. But as Ali mentioned in the feature there was a period when she fell out of love with the sport, with tennis. Do you think that needs to be normalised a bit more, that it's fine to go through these phases when sport is your life? And great that she's come back to it, but
yeah, it's
you could just talk
there.
About it. It's fine for that to happen.
She's quite self-aware, I think, because, and what she actually identified, she hadn't fallen out of love with the sport. She'd fallen out of love with the environment. It wasn't the environment that was key, and it was finding somewhere that she could call home, a training base. And I think she's found that now at Stirling University. She had trips when she was younger to America and to Spain. Spain seems to have been worked out well for her. So it's just finding the environment and the supportive environment. And for her, family and friends are obviously hyper crucial. So it's working around that rather than, I think, separating her from that. I think maybe using that as her base, and if it's home, then that's absolutely fine. Stirling University down the road, great facility down the road from Dunblane, and she can go and train there. There's the GB Academy, Tennis Scotland Academy there, so and there's also all the university scholarship students, so she can go and train there and get great practice facilities and good strength and conditioning before she goes out to compete.
What would you say to somebody who is struggling with that, or what do we need to do more to support young athletes who are maybe going through this?
Well, first of all, if that's identifying, like talking about it, and then just sort of working through what do you think, and it might be that you need a little break. And for Ali, it was interesting, she had a break, but what she's also now doing is a BA at Napier University, which I find that really interesting, because there's long periods of time when you have downtime when you're away competing, and this BA in Business and Enterprise and Sport is through Napier University. It's for elite athletes, so it's it's supporting her, and she's learning while she's awake as well as competing, and I think she's finding that, so she's got that balance. So I think probably very often it's for those athletes, maybe something's not right, whatever that is, and it's identifying to get the balance, because you can't really compete to your absolute highest unless the balance, like anyone in any sphere of life. So it's getting the balance correct, whether it's your home life, family, friends, something not working right in the physical side, need to adapt the training. So, and if you need a break, well, you need a break. That's okay. Whatever it is you're saying, that's okay, because it's you at the end of the day doing it.
Yeah. Well, it's great. It is great to see Ali now. It sounds like she's found exactly what part of tennis she wants to be in, and she's clearly thriving in it. So we do wish her all the best. If we do move back to rugby, though, for the end of the programme, we do have the Six Nations coming up. They start at the end of the month. Scotland face England first, the #1 ranked team in the world. It will be tough. We know it's going to be tough, but actually, like we said before, it does seem like a Scotland side who are really pushing on now. How do you see that going?
Yeah, I think that's a really positive start to the Six Nations this year. It's the Dam Health Stadium, so we've had one international there, that was Japan, and so the second international will be 26th of March, 12 noon kick-off against England. How fantastic is that? And it's not since 2019 will everyone playing everyone due to COVID, etc. Last year was the first time they trialled a later start for the Women's Six Nations, and they've got a new sponsor now. TikTok have come on board, so it's really exciting times, and it's sort of a window for the Women's Six Nations, and that's an exciting one. It's going to be a tough match against England. England are very much a winning streak, having beaten New Zealand before Christmas, but ones I'm sure that Scotland will absolutely relish. And then they've also got France at home at Scotstoun as well on the 10th of April. So two fantastic home matches. I think we had 2, 3, 4, 6 were at the one in against Japan. That was the first time spectators have been allowed since 2019. So hopefully get a big crowd down. I'm sure that will spur on the girls and further their development.
Obviously the focus is the Six Nations, but how do the Scotland team now need to use this time together during this tournament to really push on for the World Cup?
Yeah, I think it was interesting Friday night. It was one match. You've identified it. It's a tournament. So the Six Nations is a tournament, and the World Cup is a tournament. So it's playing matches, and then you've only got 5 days, 6 days, 7 days turnaround. So it's tournament play is different, and adapting to those conditions. So I think that's the main thing if when you're playing in a tournament, and how to use your squad effectively, rotate your squad effectively, and prepare. How do you prepare, recover, etc., etc. So it's tournament play rather than Friday night was a standalone. Scotland definitely benefited from the fact that Hong Kong, Samoa couldn't make it, so they only had one match to play, and they definitely used that to their advantage. But I think these 5 matches coming up are going to be super foundations for the World Cup later on in the year.
They certainly will be. We cannot wait to watch, and hopefully some big score lines in favour of Scotland. Ahead. Well,
we've had 22 tries in 4 matches, so that's 4 wins in the last 4 games for Scotland, and that's the first time Scotland's done that since 2009-10. So more tries, please.
Absolutely. Heather, thank you so much for joining us this week.
No problem. Thank you.
Well, sin airson in nach, Jean Keenshach gyfel sy'n fel lentyn BBC Alba YouTube son a hulafus còmhla di t-seachdain-sa. Agus cynnig gyfel Spartans y cluicheadair aus an SWPL ha Bheir BBC Alba bhuannaich sa Mar sin live yn drast.